have on Roe. Joining us now, the executive vice president of Planned Parenthood. And folks, join us on our stream, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, if you would. The executive vice president of Planned Parenthood, Don Laguens, joins us now. Don, am I pronouncing your last name correctly? Forgive me if I'm not.
Good morning, Mark. It's Laguens. Thanks so
Laguens.
much.
How are you this morning in the midst of all of this, Lord have mercy?
Well, I think we have all are very alarmed, would be the first thing that I would say, because we know that Brett Kavanaugh has shown a real hostility toward personal liberty writ large, but women's rights in particular.
Yeah. I'm particularly concerned about this case where he wanted to prevent undocumented minors from having the right to an abortion. And his logic was that, some support system may materialize before or after they get out of custody. That's just crazy, Don. I mean, that's just absolutely insane. As if he cared. How can you, on the one hand, detain brown minors, and then we're supposed to think you're going to be concerned about their children when they're born?
Well, as you said, he has tried to use the power of the state to deny, in this case, a young woman who was in U.S. custody access to abortion. Luckily, I'll say, his extreme position was overruled by his own colleagues. But, writ large, what we do know is with this nomination, this open seat, the right to safe legal abortion is on the line for everyone in this country. And we absolutely know how Judge Kavanaugh would rule on the Supreme Court because Donald Trump told us. And we have to take Donald Trump, given what we've seen, at his word, because he made his litmus test clear that he would only appoint biased justices who would, in his own words, automatically overturn Roe v. Wade, and who would do other things as well, strike down the Affordable Care Act and all of that. And we also know Judge Kavanaugh has ruled in ways that limit even access to contraception.
Yeah. So, Don Laguens with us, folks, of Planned Parenthood. So, what about those? There are some folk who say that people on our side, Don, are doing the whole sky is falling thing, and we're overstating the problem. What do you say to them? How real, how tangible is the possibility that Roe finally could be overturned on the part of these conservatives?
Well, we've seen over and over again, and again, just going back to the whole idea of hearings, justices who sat through hearings like now Justice Gorsuch and said they respected precedent and stare decisis and threw around a number of legal terms, but actually said nothing about their real views around Roe v. Wade, around personal liberty, around the right to marry. And we know that if somebody gets in there and tips the balance of the court, we are in very scary territory for our rights and freedoms, especially when it comes to abortion, contraception, and personal relationships. So I don't think we're at all overreacting. And in fact, when you, again, look at what Donald Trump says, both as president and on the campaign trail, wanting to punish women, believing they needed to be punished for abortion, saying he would only appoint people who would overturn Roe, and looking at the celebratory nature of what groups like Susan B. Anthony List and other anti-abortion groups are saying about Brett Kavanaugh, I think we are exactly right to be concerned. And I'd love to throw out for your listeners, if they are concerned and want to connect with their senators, which is where this conversation needs to happen, is between the American people and their senators who are charged with determining whether our rights will be protected. They can text SCOTUS, SCOTUS, to 22422, and Planned Parenthood Action Fund will connect them directly to their senator.
Folks, text SCOTUS to 22242. That's the right number?
22422.
22422. I'm sorry, 22422. Text SCOTUS to 22422, so you can be connected with your senators, ladies and gentlemen. Are you seeing, are you confident, optimistic, Don, that women are getting more mobilized around this, and that there's going to be some serious mass action?
Well, women, as you know, we're pretty fired up already. We've seen the largest marches we've ever seen in this country immediately following the inauguration. We know that more than 1 in 5 Americans have marched, and 50% of them say it's because of women's rights. We see more women running for office and getting elected. And now, since this opening on the court was announced, we have seen an outpouring of really people very concerned. What can they do? Wanting to get involved, calling their senators, showing up for town halls. I think we're going to see now that they know that it is, in fact, someone from Trump's list of 25 pre-approved, biased anti-abortion judges. They are going to be even more fired up. And so I am hopeful that just like with the Affordable Care attacks on the Affordable Care Act, the attacks on Planned Parenthood, where they swore that within 30 days Planned Parenthood would be defunded, and here we are 18 months later still providing important care. Planned Parenthood is, because the American people stood up, spoke out, and said, no way.
Don Laguens with us, folks, of Planned Parenthood. Don, in your own words, what would it be like? How would things be if Roe were reversed? What would that mean to women? What would women be faced with once again?
Well, most women in this country, of course, who are of reproductive age, most women in this country have never lived now in a world without Roe. Some 40 years ago that this was decided, and we went from a world of criminalization and danger because of what the government was forcing women to do, to a world where we have safe, legal abortion. We have so many gains for women in terms of their access to, again, both contraception and abortion. And we know that, again, Judge Kavanaugh, in his role, has shown real hostility even to contraception. And your boss, letting your boss say that birth control doesn't have to be covered by your insurance, which is just sounds, I think, kind of crazy to most people. So we start to roll back in some of our states to those days, because we have states that have old laws on the books that would criminalize abortion, that would make it illegal actually before women even know they're pregnant. And we could see all kinds of rules and laws upheld that would be dangerous to women and to families. And we know that so many women 1 in 4 women in this country has an abortion. Many of them are already mothers, and we really have to be very, very concerned that your zip code is going to determine what kind of life you're able to lead and what kind of health care you're going to be able to get.
In fact, that's been part of the strategic consideration that's gone into this, where the states have already, some of them already begun to violate Roe. The risk is to challenge those states in court, and now the risk is even greater, because if you challenge a state in court and then it gets all the way up to the Supremes, we expose ourselves to the likes of the conservatives that are already there, and hopefully not, but possibly even Kavanaugh.
Right, exactly, Mark. What we've seen is that in so many cases, some of these extreme state legislatures that are very out of touch with what the people in their state want, what women in their state need, who have tried to limit access to all kinds of things in terms of reproductive health and rights, are now going to feel emboldened to pass more and more extreme things that they believe will be upheld by the Supreme Court. And we will have a patchwork of laws. And as you say, many people already live with very significant limits. But we just recently had a great decision under Justice Kennedy. And so we know that it's possible to have some one in the middle, that there are Republican judges who are more in the middle, in the center, where the balance of power hangs, and we know that. The whole women's health case that said you can't put unnecessary, undue, unscientific burdens on women or providers who are trying to follow the law and provide safe legal abortion in this country. Now we have to worry about how will that be upheld if we get someone who we know, based on what Donald Trump said and what Susan B. Anthony List and others are celebrating, anti-abortion groups are celebrating Brett Kavanaugh, and anything that we hear about him supposedly being a moderate is all part of a political strategy, because they know his views are unpopular and that most Americans do not support overturning Roe v. Wade. So they're going to try to do a sales job, and people really do need to pay close attention to this, not be misled, and get involved by, as we said, immediately texting SCOTUS to 22422 and making sure that they are letting their senators know. This is 100 people in this country who hold the balance of the Supreme Court in their hands.
Yeah. Don Laguens, I guess, folks, just before we go, so we're reminding you all, and it's up on our screen now, text SCOTUS to 22422, 22422. Please, ma'am, please, sir. Also, any mass actions or street actions, rallies, protests you all have planned yet in the days to come, Don?
There are going to be both town halls are already starting to happen. And again, by getting on that text list, you can be signed up to know what's happening in your area.
Good.
I think we are going to see some mass mobilizations happening both at the state and the national level. We know many of our senators who have stood up for Roe v. Wade in the past are going to be really wanting to hear from the people in their states, and that's all across the country. And we also know that it's very important that people understand that the senators understand they're being watched, that our folks know what is on the line and are going to show up and show out. And so we'll be sure to let people who know, who sign up, know how to get involved.
And we definitely want people to sign up and do that. Lastly, congratulations on being the EVP. You are the successor to our good friend Cecile Richards. Word on the street is you're a pretty tough customer yourself.
Thank you. Well, I learned from the best, didn't I? And, big shoes for all of us to fill while we find a new president, but we're going to do our best. She showed us the way. She's still out there with us every day. And so this is probably the most important fight of our lifetimes. Yeah. And so we all have to show up, and we cannot have the wool pulled over our eyes about who this guy is and what his record really is. It's alarming. It's dangerous. And we can't have a world where our daughters and our children have fewer rights than we do.
Don Laguens, folks of Planned Parenthood. Don, pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, Mark.
That these airwaves and this show in particular are at your disposal to mobilize everybody in the country. So feel free to give me as many assignments as you like to get the word out. Meanwhile, folks, the first assignment, text SCOTUS to 22422. That's your first assignment today. Text SCOTUS to 22422. They'll tell you how to contact your senators and where actions and town halls are taking place near you. Don, thank you, okay?
Very good. Thanks, Mark. Talk to you again soon.
We'll talk soon. Take care now. Don Laguens, folks of Planned